It's really hard to pinpoint exactly what went wrong for the Boston Celtics after the first 3 games of the finals. Some people are going to put all the blame on Jayson Tatum. A lot of people will point to the turnovers, but there's not really a specific thing to blame individually. Rather, it was an accumulation of multiple things that created the perfect storm for them to lose this series. I wanted to look at these factors and show how it's more than just the turnovers in the box score or the missed shots that resulted in the Warriors walking away with yet another championship to add to their collection. But I feel to do that correctly, I really actually need to go and break down footage. But personally, that's not something that I really do on this channel. It's certainly something I do here and there, but it's not really my forte, not my niche. However, my good friend Alex Hoops is extremely talented at breaking down footage and actually educates me on basketball on the floor all the time. And me and him both thought it would be a great idea to start a series on this channel where he breaks down footage to cover some bases that I really can't. This is going to be the first video in this potential series, so please feel free to drop a like as well as comment to let me know how you feel about this, because this is something new and experimental. I want to get as much information as I possibly can. And by the way, to put any potential comments to bed right out of the gate, by no means is this a replacement for me or anything like that, or is it replacing any kind of content? This is just something extra to supplement the channel, to cover some extra bases in basketball discussion. I'm just trying to add some variety as well as platform a good friend of mine. By no means is this like someone else taking over my channel by any stretch. In fact, after being kind of lackluster content-wise in the playoffs, I promise you, and I don't say that lightly, that you're going to be seeing a lot more of me than you have of late soon. So I don't know if that's necessarily something you want, but it's going to happen. So yeah, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and hand the mic to Alex, who's going to break down what went wrong for the Celtics in this final series. I think you guys are going to like him.
Let's go ahead and set some context here and get an idea of some of the primary areas of struggle before we get too deep into everything. To say that Boston's half-court offense struggled would be about the biggest understatement that you could possibly make. The Celtics would finish the first half of Game 6 with an offensive rating of only 70.5 points per 100 possessions. Now, on the flip side, the Warriors finished the first half of Game 6 with an offensive rating of 91.5. Now, while neither of those offensive ratings are really impressive, a 21-point difference in offensive rating is really not a good deficit to start out the game with. I want to start off by talking about what was working for Boston, because I think that's going to make it a lot easier to see the differences between them at their best and them at their worst. This play right here is a great example. Tatum is going to attack the basket, and Marcus Smart is going to pull out to the corner while all of the defensive attention is being focused on Tatum's drive. Tatum is going to bail out, but pay attention to what he does afterwards. He doesn't just kick out and assume that the catch and shoot 3 from Smart is coming. He instead relocates to the perimeter while the defense is still trying to figure everything out. And by the time Smart gets it to him, the defense has no time to really contest the shot. Another great play here, Tatum and Brown are going to initiate this split action that forces Gary Payton and Looney to the paint, and it leaves Andrew Wiggins alone with Tatum, and Robert Williams is going to get into a pin down screen for Tatum. Tatum gets the ball and gets going towards the basket, and then he's able to stop and just get into a nice smooth jump shot. They run this split action off of this inbound play, and Tatum cutting to the paint is going to pull both Steph Curry and Andrew Wiggins with him. Robert Williams initiates this pin down for Tatum, but Williams does a really good job of slipping the screen for White to get it to him for an easy dunk. Now on this inbounds play, they get it to Tatum with an actually fairly risky pass, and Wiggins is going to completely ignore Robert Williams as Tatum receives the pass. This allows Williams a wide open lane on a cut, and props to Tatum for seeing the pass and connecting on it, and you can see that this forces Gary Payton to pull towards the paint to offer help. Now, with 2 defenders on him, Robert Williams makes a perfect dump off to Smart, and with nobody on the perimeter covering Jaylen Brown, Smart's going to kick it out to him for the wide open 3. And now, even though this play results in a miss, I think all of these plays have something in common that I think Boston's offense lacks way too often: creativity. Boston's offense is so frustrating because you see what they're capable of when they're operating like this. There's very little stagnation. It's a fluid offense with variety. The turnovers that they get so often don't typically come on plays like this. They come on plays when their offense is being lazy and they're forced to make risky passes that have a high degree of difficulty. Let's look at some examples of what they did wrong now and pay attention to the difference in how they're operating, primarily off the ball. This play is really going to help set the stage for some of my frustrations with the Boston Celtics offense. They're going to start off this play by getting into a horn action up top with Derek White and Horford as the two screeners. Tatum opts to go right, but he's going to run into Kevon Looney and Curry providing help defense. What really frustrates me about the play is this. Look at all of this space. Derek White doesn't have Curry on him anymore, and he has a clear lane to make a cut towards the basket to at least try and get Tatum something to work with. But all that ends up happening is Tatum's drive getting shut down, and he ends up passing to Jaylen Brown, who ends up trying to take Draymond to the basket while everybody is just standing around watching. Here, Derek White has the ball up top, and he gets a screen from Brown, but when White initiates the drive, nobody really does anything. It just gets sent to Horford, who makes the extra pass to Tatum, who then tries to drive on Draymond Green, who had been playing fantastic defense up to this point, and then he just makes a risky dump-off pass to Williams that results in a turnover. Remember what I said about how when they're being creative on offense, their passes are made infinitely more simple? This is all the opposite of that. They're trying to force these difficult passes because nobody's really doing anything to create openings and get high percentage looks. Like I said, it's frustrating that they have the capability of operating in a more creative manner on offense because we've seen it, yet they continued to default to this stagnant, isolation-heavy offensive play style over and over again throughout the series, even though it was such an easy way to rack up turnovers. The Celtics weren't exactly great in isolation anyways, both during the regular season and in the playoffs, so the fact that it was something they leaned on despite having better options just really didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Tatum's performance was underwhelming to say the least. I don't think I need to explain that to you. He finished game 6 with 13 points on 6 of 18 shooting, and he recorded 5 turnovers. A big reason for this poor performance was the great defense that we saw from Andrew Wiggins. He held Jayson Tatum to 37.5% shooting from the field and 0% shooting from 3, and he forced Tatum into 3 of his 5 turnovers. This matchup just caused a ton of problems for Tatum, not just in game 6, but throughout the entire series. Tatum shot 36% from the field with Andrew Wiggins as his primary defender during the finals. It's a matchup that consistently gave him trouble, and it's because Andrew Wiggins is such a fundamentally sound defender. He's got way too much lateral quickness to beat him off the dribble, and his wingspan is just too long to easily get an uncontested shot off on him. So when Tatum ended up in a situation where he didn't have Wiggins on him, it was really frustrating that he didn't capitalize on those opportunities. Now let's pivot over to the defensive side of things. Al Horford on this play is going to get switched onto Steph Curry. And first and foremost, I got to say at 36 years old, to be moving this well against one of the quickest and most agile guys in the NBA is really impressive. But Boston did something that really frustrated me. Curry gets a favorable angle, and when he starts to attack the basket, Horford doesn't have the angle to contest the shot. Marcus Smart, instead of providing any sort of deterrence on the shot at the rim, instead does this weird step forward and then just watches as Curry gets an incredibly easy 2 points. Again, on this play, they switch Horford onto Curry, even though there really wasn't much of a reason to do so, and Curry is going to take Horford off the dribble to the basket, and Grant Williams doesn't provide any help defense, and instead he just watches as Curry makes the layup over Al Horford. They just left Al Horford out to dry on this Steph Curry mismatch, and they offered zero help even though they had the personnel in the right positions to do so. It was really frustrating to watch Al Horford do his absolute best defensively while everybody else just stood around and watched him get hunted by quicker ball handlers. He really did about all that you can ask him to do, but there's only so much that he can do at the end of the day. Their laziness contesting shots at the basket killed them as well. Here, they just watched Draymond get a free look at the basket off this nice feed from Curry. Here, Grant Williams just watches as Curry gets to the basket, and he makes absolutely no effort to offer any contest on the shot. The Warriors are going to generate their good looks elsewhere, so the key to success on the defensive end is making their other shots as difficult as possible, and at least from my perspective, they just didn't do a good job at forcing the Warriors into difficult shots. This defense is such a stark contrast to what we knew they were capable of during the regular season. They went from the #1 defensive rating in the NBA with 106.9 during the regular season to a defensive rating of 110.8 in the finals. Now, I know that may not sound like a crazy difference, but that 4-point swing could be the difference between winning and losing a series. It wasn't just one specific thing, though, that caused them to lose this series. It was so many different factors playing against them, and really them playing against themselves. Obviously, Golden State has great defense and they have great offense, but a lot of the stuff that caused Boston issues in this series was self-inflicted. You've already got a really great team in Golden State working against you, so it's incredibly important that you don't work against yourself. Go ahead and subscribe here for more content from Rusty. Drop a like to let us know that you enjoy these kinds of videos, and also be sure to subscribe to my channel for more film breakdown videos like this. I'm doing it all the time over there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.